George Clooney sold his tequila brand for $1 billion. And Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, his might be worth $2 billion. Nick Jonas, Ava Longoria, Kevin Hart, they are all shooting their shot. So why all this celebrity interest around tequila? Why all the action? Well, I did some digging, and it actually makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot you can learn from how they're doing it. That's coming up right after this. Before we get to it, if you're new here, my name's John Davids. I've helped my clients make over $200 million working with my marketing and growth agencies. You can learn more at johndavids.com. While you're there, get on the email list. And wherever you're watching this or listening, subscribe, like, follow Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure you get back to me and let me know what you think in the feed. And now, let's get to the show. So let's rewind here a few years. 2013 is when all this action started, just over a decade ago. It started with the mega sale of Casamigos to Diageo for a cool $1 billion. So this brand was started by George Clooney and his buddies Randy Gerber and Mike Meldman, 2013. And 4 years later, it was scooped up by Diageo, which is an alcohol behemoth out of the UK. Now, while this wasn't the first celebrity tequila brand, it was the first to sell for 3 commas. And Casamigos wasn't even supposed to be a serious moneymaker. It was a passion project for George Clooney, and it grew into a cultural phenomenon, or at least that's the origin story. And we all know origin stories can be fabricated. I talk about this in Marketing Superpowers Pro, my flagship course. And you know, at the end of the day, the origin story is so important because it gives you a feeling, a vibe, a sensation that what you're drinking or what you're taking part in, whatever the brand is, has a higher meaning. And that's super important. And we see that with Casamigos and a lot of the other alcohol brands. So Diageo comes along and drops $1 billion, a truckload of money on Clooney. And you know what? Everyone else takes notice. All of a sudden, Hollywood's ears perk up and other people want in on the action. Now, this is a big category in general. Tequila is a hot market, red hot. Category sales for tequila exploded during the pandemic and hit $14 billion in 2022. That number is projected to double in a decade. And California is also the largest U.S. tequila market, and that's one more advantage for Hollywood. They are all there. But there's another reason that celebrities love their tequila. Tequila is a brand-heavy business. Alcohol in general is very brand-heavy, and there's a long history of these brands being built around people. Think Johnny Walker, or think Bacardi. These were real men who lived and handcrafted their own alcohol, and they have romantic origin stories. They have a fine-tuned distilling process. They have an old-world craftsmanship, a charm. It's ageless. It's timeless. This is a tried-and-true playbook. So if you've already got a personal brand, whether you're a social media celebrity or a Hollywood celebrity, you've got a head start. Now, George Clooney and his friends were able to launch Casamigos on less than $2 million, which I know sounds like a lot of money, but for a startup that launched and then sold in 4 years for $1 billion, $2 million is like nothing. It's like the seed funding you get when you walk into an office and tell them on the basic business plan. And you know what? George Clooney's got a big advantage because he didn't even need to do fundraising. He and his buddies each put in, I think, $600,000 or $700,000, and they never had to put in another penny. They operated on cash flow from the beginning onwards. And honestly, $2 million is actually even a lot today. I bet you could launch a tequila brand for a lot less. There are tons of tequila brands in Jalisco, which is the tequila capital of the world, who would love to slap their logo and their name on somebody who has a personal brand and say, hey, this is my tequila. And let's pause here and think for a second. Because do you need to be a celebrity to launch a tequila brand? Do you need to be a celebrity to launch a brand where the product is already made for you, good, high-quality product, and then you can do the branding? No, you don't. In fact, you don't need to be a celebrity at all. If you have a personal brand, that's one advantage. But if you're just an awesome marketer, if you understand how to run meta ads, how to run Instagram ads, how to run TikTok, how to do influencer, how to do direct mail, how to do email, how to do anything, out-of-home advertising, television, whatever it is that's your unfair advantage in the marketing side, you have an unfair advantage. So if there's somebody else who has an amazing product and you can come along and do the amazing marketing, that's really all you you need to do. And that's what these Hollywood celebrities started to realize. Hey, we have an unfair advantage. We have personal brands. We have social media handles that have lots of followers. We have access to all kinds of media outlets. And so that's why celebrities have also jumped on board. Now, there's another reason that tequila is so hot. You see, some tequilas can be aged for less time compared with scotch or rum. So why would you launch a scotch brand or a rum brand that has to be aged for a lot longer when tequila can be done in a shorter period of time? Not all tequila, but some tequila, and that means a shorter time to market. So your costs go down, your labor goes down, your go-to market speeds up, and ultimately your revenue is higher. But you got to move fast. Because let's be clear, tequila is not the only drink in town. Ryan Reynolds. You guys know Ryan Reynolds. I've talked about him on social. Ryan Reynolds sold aviation gin for $610 million. Conor McGregor unloaded proper number 12 whiskey for about the same amount, actually. And there are lots of ways to win. Whiskey, gin. I mean, if you want to play in alcohol or beverage in general, you don't need to go down the same path. Look at the Nelk Boys with Happy Dad Seltzer. Look at Logan Paul and KSI with Prime, right? There's lots of ways to do it. Emma Chamberlain and Chamberlain Coffee. Beverage in general makes a lot of sense as a business because it is highly standardized and in many cases it is quite high margin. Still, tequila is not going anywhere. It's big and it's growing. Jose Cuervo still dominates the category with nearly 9 million cases sold. That's in 2022. Patron, Don Julio round out the top 3 biggest tequila brands. And what do you think the 4th best-selling tequila is right now? Casamigos, my friends. George Clooney did it. I think The Rock is somebody to keep an eye on here also. Terramana, The Rock's liquor brand, is actually getting a lot of distribution. I was in Mexico recently. They're there. They're all over the US. They're in Canada. I don't know if they're in Europe, but the reality is if you have a lot of distribution and if you can get distribution not just on the marketing side, but on the physical retail side in a category like this, that goes a long way. Now, I want to make sure I make this crystal clear because a lot of people watch this kind of content, they hear me talk about these celebrity brands, and they think it's purely aspirational, and there's nothing that they can really take and use from this. So here's a reality check. All these celebrities that I talked about, George Clooney, Ryan Reynolds, Conor McGregor, like, yeah, they're cool, they're celebrities, but these are not the most influential celebrities in the world, not even close. If you go to a 23-year-old and say, who's more influential, George Clooney or Logan Paul? George Clooney or Emma Chamberlain? George Clooney or Mr. Beast? Like, what do you think the answer is? Obviously, it's the social media generation. And that means that all of this is so much more attainable now than it ever was. The whole excuse of, oh, that's a celebrity, so they can do it. They have a big audience, they can do it. Look, anybody can have a big audience. You can have a big audience if you dedicate the time into building a social media channel. You can have a big audience if you don't even want to be in front of the camera, but you can create a meme account. You can create an anonymous Twitter account. You can become someone who creates content under a pseudonym, or you can just have a character, a cartoon character that you are pulling the strings for, and they are the main character. The key here is that modern brands are built on main characters. I talk about this extensively in my course, Marketing Superpowers Pro. You have to have a main character to be relevant, right? If I am selling burgers and fries, people don't want to follow a hamburger on Twitter. People don't want to follow a French fry on Instagram. It's an inanimate object. What if I turn that French fry into Frankie the French fry, and I give him hands and eyes, and I give him a satirical personality, and all of a sudden it's a meme that's a French fry, and he represents the brand, right? Does this sound crazy? Well, it's not crazy. This is how actual brands are built. Or maybe you have a chef who works in the restaurant, and that chef actually is the character that represents the brand. Check out Last Crumb, the luxury cookie brand. They sell cookies for $140 a box. I was going to say 140 million there. That'd be too much. $140 a box luxury cookie brand, Last Crumb. I'm going to talk more about them in a future video. I might have already done it by the time you see this on social media. But Last Crumb has this character called the head chef. And who is the head chef? They don't really say it. You can assume assume that maybe it's one of the co-founders, or maybe it's just this mystical character they've created. But the point is, they've built this mystery and this attraction around this character of the head chef, and he's the one who handcrafts the cookies that arrive in that beautiful box that you're going to indulge in for $140 or $12 per cookie. You know, that is really, really good branding because they have a main character behind it. And that's really the takeaway from all of this. George Clooney, Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, Conor McGregor. Yes, they have big names, but you know what? The biggest alcohol brands are not celebrity alcohol brands. They're brands that have actually built mystery around what they've done, and they have the biggest market share. Jose Cuervo is still number one. Don Julio is still number one. Those are fictional characters in our minds. Those are not real people that are movie stars, and they're even bigger. And in most categories that you look at, what's the fastest growing sports drink in the world right now? It's Prime, influencer led. What's the fastest growing candy bar in the world right now? It's Feastables, right? It's that chocolate bar by Mr. Beast. So I really encourage marketers today to think about the character at the helm of your brand. That is where the action is, and that's going to be so important to brands going forward, because nobody wants to follow a hamburger. They want to follow a person. I have learned so much from celebrity brands, and I have put it to use. Again, check out marketingsuperpowerspro.com. The course is up. I get into this in so much more detail. And if you like this kind of stuff, you are going to learn so much and make so much money. And that's what this is all about. It's about commerce, and it's about building brands that make a difference, that add value and drive profits. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know at johndavids.com. While you're there, get on the newsletter. Leave a comment here, follow, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next time.